This is a bit of a strange one really, because a few days ago I mentioned the fact that when I was a lad I used to do water divining, and everybody smiles when you say that. Water divining isn't just divining for water, it's actually finding objects underground. And different people use different implements for doing this, and my favourite ones, which were taught to me by Wilf probably about 30 years ago, are just a pair of ordinary welding rods bent to almost 90 degrees, which you hold out in front of you and walk along. Okay, well here we are at Hough End Hall to talk about a story that has been perpetuated for a few years now, about children playing in a tunnel which runs from the hall. There's lots of stories about tunnels running from Hough End Hall. One says that it runs to Barlow Hall, another one down to the Mersey, and another one which is purportedly to run to where the actual Chorlton bus station is now. And so, having done divining for the last 30 years or so, I thought I'd come along to Hough End Hall and see if I can either prove or dispel the myth that there is a tunnel that goes from the hall. Okay, right, now, so as you saw then, the rods crossed, and they crossed before because there was something below me that made them cross, and this something below me, I believe, is a tunnel or an open space. And the reason that I'm thinking that is because as I was walking I was thinking tunnel, and the idea when you're divining is if you're looking for water you think water, if you're looking for electricity cables you think electricity cables, and tunnels and so forth. And they have actually used divining to find dead bodies in places, so it is something that has been used throughout the ages. So after finding one spot, the idea then is to move along the course and try to find another spot which lines up and so on and so forth. So you've got a series of crosses on the floor that line up, that indicate that perhaps something is in that direction on the ground. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to start on the other side of the car park and walk across it parallel to Hough End Hall itself to see if we can actually find another cross. And what I'll do for the moment, I think, is put a little cross on the ground as to where I am, so that I know that that is a possible area where there's a tunnel. So we go along to the middle of the car park, further on the car park, and start again and walk parallel with the hall. And we're going to guess from here that wherever that cross was that I put wouldn't go wildly round to go parallel to the hall. So we'll take up the same stance again and we'll walk along parallel to the hall again, see if we can find another cross. Now, this is something that's very difficult to do and talk at the same time, so I'm going to do this quietly now because I'm going to think tunnels. Yes, there we go. And another cross on the ground there. And we'll not look back at the other cross because we don't want to start guessing this, so I'm going to go just a little bit further, perhaps halfway between where they would be, and take the same sort of stance again with the rods nice and loose, and we'll see if we can find another position. There they go again. And it doesn't take a lot of mathematics to say that at the moment we have something that's running from over there, that corner, that runs diagonally across towards Moulderth House, and it makes you wonder why anyone would think that there was a tunnel going to where the bus station is, because according to our local historian Andrew Simpson, there was nothing around that area in the particular Tudor times where this tunnel would have been made. But we can only guess that there may be something there because we have stories of children playing in a tunnel, and definite stories about children going so far down the tunnel, which was going in the direction of the bus station. We have Roy here today who's never done it before today, and there's a bit of a smile on his face because we have actually just had a walk with Roy just to prove that he could do it. The first question is, where do I get a pair of these welding rods from? So we're going to make him a setup. And so I'm just going to show you the sort of the theme, not the theme, the way to do it. And then I'm going to let Roy walk this course where I've put these crosses, and let's see if he can find this tunnel. So you put your hands into your side nice and make a nice fist round there, but something that makes them nice and easy to move, because if they want to move in, you let them move and keep them parallel to the ground. Think tunnels, that's the important bit, and off you go. Right, stop. Okay. Now what we have there, Roy, if you look at the ground, is the similar line to where my cross was. You're probably just on the south face of the tunnel there, because what we can actually do is we can actually tell the width of the tunnel. So once they're crossed, you start from the other side and walk this way, and then you put your line down in order to find the width. And then at a later stage we can start looking at finding the depth of the tunnel and how far it is underground and how deep the tunnel is itself. So there you go, your first water divining, or tunnel divining in this case, and it worked. Well, that was successful with Roy. We're going to try Nigel now, and I must admit, we've got to confess that Nigel did have a go again. In fact, it was just one quick go, wasn't it, earlier today? And he's just now recovering from that, and he's going to have another go. Now, let's just start off by put your wrist by your side and keep it nice and keep that nice and slack in there. Those rods have got to be able to move, and if they want to move, whichever way, inside, outside, just let them go. Think tunnels, and away you go. Stop. And if you look down, you'll see there's one of my earlier crosses. So it looks like three of us are on track to where this tunnel is. So having walked the front of the car park and with Roy and Nigel, we've come to a sort of a conclusion that this tunnel came from somewhere around here. Now we need access to the hole to see wherever it went once it was inside the hole, and it's possible that it actually does turn and go towards the back end where the cellar is. Whether that cellar was in operation in the Tudor times, we don't know, but it certainly comes out, and it seems to be this wide. I'm not sure really why it is this wide, but if I come along from this end and I find the first part of the tunnels there, and I come from this end and I find the first part of the tunnels there, then that indicates to me that that's the width of the tunnel. And so it seems to sort of come slightly towards going parallel to the hole, and then comes along in a trajectory which takes it straight across to where Moldeth House is. Now what it does at Moldeth House we don't know, or whether it's still there because they could have removed it with the foundations. What I'd like to do now is to try to determine what the depth of the tunnel is as it came from under the hole, and as far as we can get to in that corner, see whether it actually goes deeper or shallower. So if I go back to the beginning of where we think it comes out from the hole, and basically I stand in the centre of where the two crosses were, which are my two original crosses, and I start off with the rods, and I'll take a direction of where I think it is, and the rods are now parallel again, and the idea now is you think tunnel, but you also think going down. Now there's different ways of doing this. You can think you're going down in a lift and count the sort of meters or feet or half meters. My preferred way is to think I'm walking down a ladder into a hole. And so I'm on the ladder and I work in feet, so each rung is a foot apart, and I'm on the top rung, and I'm going to have to think about this. So I go down one rung, then 2 rungs. Okay, it's a little bit difficult to do this on camera. I did this before, and it's just starting to cross at 13. And I did this before, I did it twice, and they actually crossed at 12. So I'm guessing the top of the tunnel is about 12 foot. Now what I haven't actually done is worked out how deep the tunnel is. So if, and this is going to be difficult to do because I've got a camera on me, this isn't the right environment to be doing this. But if I can think now, from 12 onwards, I might be able to get the depth of the tunnel, whether the people had to crawl along this or whether they could stand up. So here we go from 12. Okay, I have slight movement on 19, which would make the tunnel 5 foot. It could be 20. But I'm not too sure about this, and I'm not going to make a wild statement to say that the tunnel is 6 foot deep. Okay, so we're going to walk down the length of where we think the tunnel goes, and as I said, picking my marks up, it comes round here, moves across in this direction, and we'll take it to somewhere just near the ivy, and you can see there's crosses on the ground from earlier on, and we're going to do a depth at this point. Now, there is a rumour that there used to be a pond in this particular area. Actually, thinking about it, when I looked at some of the old photographs of the pond, it does seem to be what we call puddled, because the edges were white, and it could be that they've been cemented over. But be that as it may, whether there was a pond there or not, it's possible that that could be an area of low-lying land or land that's water saturated where the water table is. So I would guess that it's probably right that it starts turning in this direction for 2 reasons. One, to get to the bus station, and others perhaps to miss the pond or the saturated ground that was there. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to face the hall, and I'm going to attempt to see what depth the tunnel is at this particular point. And it's the same principle again. I hold the rods parallel, and I think walking down a ladder in feet. Right, so we have 15-16 feet. Not sure about that. When I actually did this before, it was a definite 16, but that doesn't matter. And we'll do the same again. We'll keep them crossed, 16, and see if we can get an actual depth of the tunnel itself. So it's 16 foot below ground here, and we're going from 16 . Okay, I've got movement at 24. So that would make it a bit of mass there, 8 foot deep there, and we don't know why. It's a guess that the tunnel is 16 foot deep and so below ground, and it's 8 foot deep itself. So there we have it. There's possibly a tunnel there. It's possible that the 4 of us made this up, but we do think that there is something that's going underground that leaves the hole at that particular point and goes towards the bus station, just as the children that played in there, as now adults and grown up, of course, has told the stories. It'd be nice to go to the other side of Moulderth House and carry on the divining to see where it goes to at the brook, and then on there towards the bus station itself, but I think that's another story. Don't forget our website is houghendhall.org.